Bam, welcome back to Talking Options. So now we're talking about week 2 of me showing you what to do with those weekly forecasts. So last week we had some really high impact news, right? When we talked about unemployment with the US, then of course we had some really high impact news with the British pound. It was all over the news, CNN, CNNBC, when we were talking about Trump going all the way to Europe, and he was meeting with the Prime Minister Theresa May, right? So that's of course going to continue into this week. I can tell you, for example, Monday, British pound has some high impact news with their, I believe, GDP that's coming out, and then US with retail sales and with consumer price index. These are going to be 3 key components that we have to keep in mind when we're talking about Forex options or futures options. And of course, I'm going to give you guys a bonus at the end. We're going to talk about how you can hedge your positions again with those CME micro mini futures. That's coming up. Stay tuned. Tom Bull, let's talk about the British pound real quick. Boy, did they take a dive this morning. They weren't playing around 4:30 this morning. You can see, of course, this did definitely have some impact. And this was due to some economic news that came out. They had some high impact news that came out this Monday morning at 4:30. GDP. We're actually going to run over to Forex Factory so I could show it to you here. You can see, yeah, they didn't do too well this month. Negative 0.4% for their GDP. Of course, that's the gross domestic product. That, of course, will show you the changes in the economy as far as what they're producing domestically. And again, the economy has shrunk down to negative 0.4%. Manufacturing production also didn't do too well. And of course, this had some high impact news and high impact on the British pound. You could see, even going over to Guardian.com, just looking at some of the fundamentals that they had here, it says that this is the biggest fall in the monthly GDP since 2016. And even car production has plunged. So yeah, Brexit hasn't been doing too well, especially since Prime Minister Theresa May said that she was leaving as prime minister. We've definitely seen a lot of volatility in the underlying, and today was no different. So, I mean, the big question is, of course, if you miss this, how could you potentially get back into this trade? I mean, one thing that I will say is that usually with like GDP and consumer price index, whenever there's big news that's happening around a currency, usually it will forecast the entire day, unless there's something else that's happening that we can expect later on. You will usually see the trend follow that economic news for that day. So typical, I wouldn't be surprised if today was just a bearish day for the British pound. I mean, overall, even if we pull out to a 4-hour chart, you can see that since about late April, we've definitely just been seeing this bearish trend for the British pound. So it wouldn't be too, out of the norm if we saw something like that for today, especially with GDP coming out. So let's take a look at some of the other news that's been following this week. I could tell you tomorrow they also have their average earnings index that's coming out, 3 months to the year. On Wednesday, we have some high impact news coming out with the US dollar. That's our consumer price index. How much are we spending domestically? What's the price changes with goods and services? How is inflation affecting those pockets? Is it inflating your pockets, people? Around 8:30 is what we're going to see. What is CPI for the month? You can see that we have it at 0.1%. So it's forecasted to decline. And we know one key component that I could tell you, especially for my Forex traders out there that's coming over to futures, always it's key to keep in mind the inverse relationship that you're going to see with the U.S. having news. What do you see with the euro? So we had some high impact news that happened on Friday of last week. I spoke about it. It was unemployment as well as non-farm employment change. And so the employment rate stayed the same, but where we saw a bit of a bearish trend for the U.S. Is we had some negative news with their hourly earnings as well as with the employment change non-farm. And because of that, I mean, the euro was smiling. They went up. As you can see, this is the chart that we saw for them, pulling it down to an intraday level. This is what we saw on Thursday and Friday. So specifically Friday, you could see that they had a bearish trend as far as their currency. A bullish trend. And this, of course, could be in relation to the inverse fundamentals that happened with the U.S. So it's really important to keep that in mind. Unfortunately, I was going to show you a micro minis future trade that we could have done with the currencies, but little me forgot that, again, you do not have options with euro when you're talking about the micro minis, only with the minis. So you could, of course, still trade this and trade options. You could come over here and you could see it here. If you wanted to do a bullish trade, say, for example, you believe that it's still going to continue up, maybe you do a covered call position against this where you do a long put at the money. You could do a short call out of the money. That wouldn't be a hard trade to set up here. But specifically, since I promised you the micro mini futures, I'm gonna keep that for a later video and just show you the fundamentals here. So again, this is what we saw for the euro. I don't want to stay too much on them because they don't have any news that's coming out this week. But you will see the inverse effects of whatever we see come from the CPI on Wednesday. We also have some high impact news that's coming out on Friday. That's going to be our core retail sales for the US dollar. And then also it seems that we have some news that's going to come out from Brexit as well. BOE Governor Carney that's going to be speaking as well. I mean, overall, we're going to see some volatility with Brexit, with the British pound, just because of what's happening politically with their economy. We're going to see a lot of volatility there. So that's definitely not going to be something that's not liquid, an underlying that's not liquid. You're going to see a lot of liquidity and trade opportunities, possibly even a pullback from what we saw today. I mean, being that they have news that's coming out tomorrow, this is definitely going to be something that I'm going to keep my eye on as a possible retracement. I mean, we could see, it's been going bearish all day this morning. And if you're trading on an intraday level, not day level, but if you're trading on an intraday level, again, we may see and we may expect to see some sort of retracement as far as small price movement to the upside. So that's what I wanted to show you, at least for this week. Really, what's going to be on our minds is the British pound, as well as paying attention to what happens with the US dollar, with CPI, and with retail trades. Until next time, happy trading, guys.